never forget the day my son said he wanted to grow up to be rich. I asked him if he was ready to hear a true story about a man and his quest for riches. He earnestly nodded his head and anxiously awaited the tale. Robert was a man who had an eye for get-rich-quick schemes. He had just been employed with a thriving company, earning stable wages, when he was struck with a bright idea. He immediately went to his new boss, Mr. Sanchez, to tell him of this great money-making idea and to let him know he would be resigning. Mr. Sanchez was an old man with a stern face but a heart of gold. He had lived an honest and hard-working life, but was now facing health issues. He had taken a great liking to Robert because he reminded him of his own son. However, being as savage as he was, he knew that Robert's idea was not going to work out in the long run. Thinking of Robert's family, and in an attempt to persuade him otherwise, he told Robert of a treasure that was far more valuable than the idea he had. Sitting in Mr. Sanchez's office, Robert leaned in intently to hear about this treasure. Mr. Sanchez informed him that his dad had left him a treasure in the deserts of New Mexico. The site would be marked by diamonds and pearls. Just as Robert was about to ask the exact coordinates, Mr. Sanchez suffered a massive heart attack and fell to his death. Despite the circumstances, Robert was enthralled with the idea of the treasure, and became so consumed by it that he rushed home to tell his wife and son. Standing by the kitchen counter, he shared with them the secret, took the remainder of their money, changed, and went to his garage to get a shovel and an empty backpack. He told his wife and son he would return with this treasure soon and they would be rich beyond their dreams. His wife handed him a lunch bag and they all lovingly hugged each other goodbye and waved in excitement. He safely arrives to the New Mexico desert, and paranoia soon sets in. He begins looking around as if everyone was spying on him, even though there was no one in sight for miles. He quickly took the shovel off the truck, put the backpack around his shoulder, and rushed over to a remote spot to start digging. He began digging with great excitement and enthusiasm. Right away, he was stopped by an object in the ground. His eyes lit up because he truly thought that he had found the treasure, but it turned out to be an aluminum can. Not being discouraged, he moved on to another area, dug around some more, but found nothing. Hours passed, and it got too dark to see. He returned to his truck, ate his snack his wife had packed for him, and ended up falling asleep. He awoke groggy the next morning, but got to digging again, all day and all through the night. The next day he returned home. His wife and son were excitedly, anxiously awaiting him at the door. His wife knew right away from the look he gave her that he did not find the treasure. They all looked disappointed because not only did he not find the treasure, but they both knew they were out of money. A few days later, Robert told his wife he borrowed money from a friend, and he's going to go out again and look for the treasure. He gave his wife some money and took the rest. He was sure this time he would find it. Again, he kissed his wife and kid goodbye. He was very enthusiastic and drove off with his shovel, snacks, and backpack. His wife and son waved goodbye, but not quite as enthusiastically. This time weeks went by. He was looking for the treasure at all hours of the day and into each night, with no time for food or proper rest. Months had gone by when he returned home. He looked tired and defeated, and he began to feel a little more discouraged and frustrated. Waiting by the door was his wife and son, who both hugged him and encouraged him. They went inside and sat down, and his wife told him that her mother had lent them money for a few months. She urged him to give up on his dream and go find a job. He sadly agreed. A few days later, he was sifting through the paper as promised, looking for a job. Nothing excited him, and he was frustrated him. He couldn't get the treasure out of his mind. He knew it was out there, but he couldn't find it. So he grabbed his backpack and his shovel, got the rest of the money he had left, and decided to leave again to search for his treasure. He looked back, but his wife and son were not there to say goodbye. When he returned to the area, he saw other people in his area searching for his treasure. He asked, "What are you doing here? This is my spot." They responded angrily, "Everyone has a right to treasure. Go find another spot." He walked off and knew they were getting closer to his treasure. He found an isolated spot and began digging. He continued to dig because he knew everyone was getting closer to his treasure, and he would never give that up. Never. Months later, he returned home. He was filthy, exhausted, and tired, and his wife and son were nowhere to be found. It was taking a toll on him with his treasure hunt. He went to the kitchen and sat down, exhausted. He found a note and decided to read it slowly. It read, "I'm at work. I found a job, and Jacob is with my mom. She is watching him. Love you, and I always will. Rebecca." The words in the letter were like daggers to his heart. He finally understood what the treasure hunt was really costing him, and he knew he was losing everything that was important. His wife came home and they began to argue about the treasure hunt. He was not feeling well, and she was frustrated trying to have to work so many jobs to try to make ends meet. She just told him to look for the treasure. Figure it out. Go if you need to, but when you come home, you need to be the father and husband that we deserve and need. She took the money she had remaining that she had earned all day and told him to leave. Go find his precious treasure. When he left, he could feel all the burdens on him. He picked up his backpack and his shovel, gave a hug, and knew what was coming. As she closed the door behind him, she couldn't help but feel that this would be the last time she would ever see him. He was growing sicker daily. He was becoming frail, but he continued to dig obsessively. He knew he must keep going. He must find his treasure. His family depended on it now. He collapsed from exhaustion. Out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something shimmery, just a few feet away. With his last bit of energy, he picked himself up and crawled to the area, looking, seeing what it was, digging with his hands to try to find it. As he began to clear it, it looked more and more like a box with jewels on the top, just as promised. He continued digging and became more and more excited. He pulled the box out, knew it must be it, and fell back, collapsing from exhaustion and excitement and relief. All he could think of was his family. He knew he had done it. He wanted someone to share it with, but there was no one there, no one for him to share this moment. He continued to not feel well, but he had to keep going. He opened the box, and inside there was a note folded neatly. He took it out and slowly began to read the words. He concentrated on the note, trying to figure out if there was more to it. Eventually, he began laughing hysterically. Slowly, it became more psychotic. Everything was starting to build up and released all at the same time. He became coughing, and eventually fell back, falling to his death. Clearly written on the paper was this: "Family is the true treasure of life. If you are reading this, son, then I want you to know that no matter how broke you are or how big your problems might be, the only thing that will ever get you through this life is family, for that is the only true treasure in life." So the next time, son, you go searching for riches, remember the outcome of your late grandpa Robert's treasure hunt.